Right now, right across our vast continent, an invasion is taking place. Across the country, our most important food-growing areas are under threat.
The more we find out about the industry, the more we become convinced that the two land uses can't coexist.
I've been very concerned about the beef industry, the possible contamination to the beef industry by these companies. Spillage of chemicals or water, especially when they get all these thousands of wells. They're talking about 20, 30,000 wells. In time, something's going to go wrong and there'll be contamination. And they could be eating that contaminated meat before it's been detected.
Some of their infrastructure is already starting to fail. So my question is, well, at this early stage of their development, why should we feel comfortable that a massive expansion isn't just going to see an exponential growth of those problems? What that will mean is a direct contamination of the soil and the water.
Driven entirely by the profit motive, gas companies seek to extract every last cubic foot of gas. They do not see farms, businesses and communities. They see a collection grid. Under most circumstances, landholders do not have the right to veto access to their property by gas companies.
There's a lot of stress in people, especially people that are true farmers or graziers, and they can see their livelihoods being affected.
Once that industry comes into the area, your land is virtually unsaleable. So for agricultural producers, this is just devastation. Whether they have coal seam gas on their property or next door to them or down the road.
Farmers don't have superannuation, or very rarely. Their farm is the superannuation. The valuation's going to go down to nearly nothing and we'll be on the pension.
Lights can be a problem, and they'll have these big high-powered lights going because they're drilling 24 hours a day. Of a night time, all around the horizon you can see glows of wells or infrastructure that's got lights on it.
Staggering increases in traffic, constant noise from infrastructure, and intimidating levels of surveillance and security personnel are also impacting rural communities. As rural landscapes are industrialised, the emotional and psychological impacts on local residents often result in widespread anxiety, anger, and depression.
People can get very despairing. I mean, when you see the size of the corporations involved, and when people realise what we have at stake, you know, the loss of our magnificent farmlands, the industrialisation of extremely beautiful landscapes, this really tears at people's hearts.
It is probably a greater cause of mental illness than even the drought.
When they're faced with uncertainty of knowing what's going to happen to their town, to their area, people aren't sure that they're going to be able to continue to make a living from what they have been doing, sometimes for generations, and that's incredibly stressful.
Mining projects can be devastating for regional communities. People often think that mining is a big employer. All of mining in Australia only employs 2% of the workforce. It's a very capital intensive industry, so it doesn't require that many people to do it. The important thing to remember is it also destroys jobs in other industries, particularly in manufacturing, tourism and agriculture.
In Broke, of course, there's a huge wine tourism industry, and that industry will just expire if it turns into a gas field.
These projects are actually crowding out more jobs than they're creating.
Are those people being sourced locally? Are they being sourced within the state? Let alone are they being sourced within Australia? Because many of them are fly in, fly out, they don't spend their income locally. We see examples where rentals have absolutely gone through the roof. How does that benefit any person who wants to stay in that community, who can't afford to rent there anymore because they just don't make enough money? So you're having all these, not just individuals, but all these families that are being disenfranchised from the place that they've grown up in, from the places that they love.
I recently went up to Queensland. It's the complete devastation of the social fabric of the towns. Everybody is in hate mode in a way. And while I was there, I found one person that was for it. He owned the pub. He said, I'm making a fortune.
They have come, they've divided and they've conquered. People don't understand the impact. It's a huge impact.
They bring nothing to the table, and we ask them, what do you bring to us? What have you got that we want? They can't answer the question.
We're extracting all this huge amount of gas, and because we're exporting it all, that means that gas in Australia becomes linked to global prices. So the price we pay is likely to double or triple in the next few years.
All for the sake of international mining companies who leave the place a complete wasteland.